All right, class. So today is Tuesday, the 28th, and we are going to work on our warm up. Okay. We are going to write some notes on equations. Equations. We'll make sure that you understand the homework. And then I want you to work on the equations maze and submit it on Canvas today, okay? All right, so here we go. Your homework for tonight is Tuesday's problems in the packet. Make sure you show your work. If it's not enough room on the sheet, guys, then please make sure you put your work on a separate piece of paper, okay? All right. So now I want you to work on the warm up. I want you to pause the video at this time so that you can have time to work it out on your own. All right. Now that you're back, let's solve this problem. We're solving for x. So to get x by itself, the first thing that we're going to do is get rid of the 5, get rid of any and all numbers that you can add or subtract to remove. This is a positive 5, so you're going to subtract 5 from both sides. When you subtract 5 from this side, here you get a negative 3x. Bring down the less than sign. And then here you're going to get a negative 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Carry the 1. That is going to be 21. Divide both sides by negative 3. This gives you x. Look, because you divided by negative 3, you flip that inequality. 21 divided by negative 3. Anytime you multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, the inequality is going to flip. But that's only when you divide or multiply by a negative number, okay? So here, a positive divided by a negative is going to give you a negative. 21 divided by 3 is going to give you 7. This is your answer here. Let's look at problem 2. Alan received $50 for his birthday. So that's how much he got. He then saved $15 every single week. So every week he saved $15. Okay? Until he had a total of $305 to buy a video game. Now we got to write an equation. All right, so he automatically had this $50. So put 50 here. Plus $15 every week. So $15 times the number of weeks. So we're going to use W for weeks. Until he got $305. That's how you write the equation, okay? So now we solve for W to figure out how many weeks, see this, how many weeks W did it take him to save $305, okay? So $50 is how much he automatically had, plus 15 times how many weeks. Okay, so here, in order to solve for W, you're going to move a positive 50 first by subtracting 50 on both sides. Okay? Look at this, guys. And you kind of can figure this out in your mind, but it's okay if you have to use the calculator. You see that? Type it in and you get what? 255. So you have 15W is equal to 255. Now, in order to get W by itself, you got to get rid of the 15. So this is multiplication, or the operation between 15 and W is multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So you're going to divide both sides by 15. 15 goes into 15 one time. So you're left with just one W. Equals, on this side, you have 255 divided by 15. And that gives you 17. Because 17 times 15 gives you 255. So here you get 17 weeks. So it's going to take you 17 weeks to get $305, okay? Please make sure that you show all of your work. At this time, take out your interactive notebook Take out your interactive notebook, okay? All right, so look at this. Yesterday, I told you to leave this page blank for intro to cluster 2. And then for some of us, I wanted to rename this page. Page 22, I want to rename it as expressions, okay? Because we didn't get to finish everything with that yesterday. So, you know what? It's okay. Sometimes you got to make changes, right? Got to adjust. So, we're going to change this to expressions. Make that change, please. I think fourth period we did that, but third period we didn't write it as expressions, okay? So please write expressions for the title of page 22. Don't forget, I told you I need you to read over your notes, okay, each night. We talked about expression, that there's 2 kinds of expressions. Please don't forget to go over this, all right? So today we're working on equations. Today we're working on equations. Let's use the lay flat. So Q1, we have what page was that last? 22. So this is 23. And the title of this page is equations. Make sure that you pause when you need to, okay? Don't hesitate to pause the video. That's the beauty about a video. Equations. An equation is where you have 2 expressions that are made equal to each other. So definition, equations are 2 expressions, and we talked about the different types of expressions yesterday, are 2 expressions that are made equal to each other. Okay, 2 expressions that are made equal to each other. That's by definition what an equation is. Examples of what equations look like. Examples. Sometimes you'll have a one-step equation that looks like this, where you're only using one operation to solve the expression. So you have maybe x plus 3 is equal to a negative 17. This is a one-step equation where we're going to subtract 3 on both sides to get x by itself. All right, this is an example. Another type, we could have a two-step equation. 2x minus 4 is equal to, let's say 24. Okay. We could have more multi-step equations where you might have 3 parentheses x plus 2 is equal to 6. You could have something like that. Okay. Or we could have variables on both sides where we have 4x minus 3 is equal to 5x plus 7. We could have another type of multi-step equation where you have we have distributive property on both sides. I did 3. Let's do 13. Change it up. We could have n plus 4. And on this side, we could also have n minus 2. And I could put 5 here. All right. So we could have, these are all equations. You have an expression over here. This is an algebraic expression. Well, even though we have one number over here, this is a numerical expression. You see how you have expressions that are made equal to each other. The equal sign is in the middle. You have expressions that are made equal to each other. Expressions that are made equal to each other. Okay? These are equations. Very different from when we talked about expressions. Equations are made up of 2 expressions that are equal to each other. So you have an equal sign in the middle and then expressions on both sides. All right, how do you solve an equation? How do you solve an equation? We're going to write some steps. And this goes for any kind of equation, okay? How do you solve it? So let's do some steps. Okay? The first thing you're going to look for is distributive property, okay? If you don't have distributive property, then of course you can skip this step, okay? There's no harm in if you don't see these things present, then you just move to the very next step. But the first thing you're going to do is distributive property. So you're going to do the distributive property or distributive properties first. And that's first. So you're going to evaluate distributive property, solve all your distributive property, simplify, however you want to say it. This is what you're doing first, distributive property. The second step that you want to do is combine like terms on each side of the equal sign, but do that separately. Combine like terms on this side if you can, and then turn around and combine like signs on this side if you can, like terms. If you can't, then you just got to skip that step. If there's nothing to combine, skip the step. So combine like terms on each side of the equal sign separately. Okay? Separately. Look at this side of the equal sign and see if you can combine anything over here. Then look at the other side and see if you can combine anything over there. The fourth step, move the variables to the same side. Move the variables to the same side. Sometimes rules don't make sense until you start working out problems, okay? Move the variables to the same side. How do you do that, Ms. Reyes? By either adding or subtracting them to move it. If it's a positive sign in front of it or a plus sign in front of it, subtract it to move to the other side. If it's a minus or a negative sign in front of it, then add it to move it to the other side. So you're going to use inverse operations by using inverse operations, the opposite. Addition, add, subtraction. If it's addition, then you need to subtract to move it. If it's subtraction, then you need to add it to move it. Okay? And again, you might not understand until we start working out problems. The fifth step. Lastly, you're going to isolate the variable by using inverse operations. Isolate the variable by using inverse operations. Okay? Inverse operations. All right, so these are your, Lord have mercy. Miss Reyes, you're a math teacher. Count. I'm sorry, y'all. People make mistakes, don't they? Okay. All right, so these are the steps. So now we are going to do some examples. Okay, we're going to do some examples now. All right. So here we got some examples to do. And this is still page 23. Okay, this is page 23. Continue. Okay. All right, here we go. Example number 1. We're solving equations, okay? You may have, make sure, you may have x plus 3 is equal to a negative 8, okay? All right, so first thing that you're going to do here is you go, in order to get x by itself, you need to get rid of this 3. Now, Ms. Reyes, why didn't you use the first couple steps? Because we don't have distributive property. There are no terms to combine, and there are no variables on both sides. So all we're doing is isolating the variable by using the inverse operation. Okay, so here, to isolate means to get x by itself. You got to figure out, what can we add to 3 to give me a negative 8? So in order to do that, we're going to get rid of this positive 3 by using the inverse of adding 3 by subtracting 3. When we subtract 3 here, this is 0, and I'm left with x on this side Bring down the equal sign, and here I get a negative what? 8, 9, 10, 11. So my answer here is a negative 11. Number 2. Okay, number 2. We may have n minus, let's do 5, is equal to a positive 15. All right, so now, again, in order to get n by itself, you have to get rid of this minus 5. The inverse or the opposite of subtracting 5 is to add it. So you're going to add 5 on both sides. Okay? When you add 5 on both sides, this is going to be gone. That's 0. And we're left with just this n. Bring down the equal sign. And when we add, this gives us 20. This is our answer here. Okay? Pause if you need to. Number 3. Number 3, this is what we have. Let's suppose that we have, let's do 20 is equal to a negative 10x. So in order to get x by itself, we want to divide both sides by a negative 10. When we divide both sides by a negative 10, this is going to give me a negative 2. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. 20 divided by 10 is 2. Negative 10 divided by negative 10 gives me a positive 1. So we are left with 1x. Remember, you don't have to put a 1 in front of the variable, okay? This is your answer. Okay? Let's do this. You may have t over 2. T divided by 2. Let's make that equal to 44. Okay? So now, in order to get rid of this, and we can make the number smaller. We can make it smaller. You don't need it to be that big. In order to get rid of the 2 that's being divided by, that's being divided by that t divided by 2. The opposite of division is multiplication. So you're, instead of dividing, you're going to multiply to get rid of the 2. I'll do the opposite, division. So the opposite of division is multiplication. So when you multiply this is gone. And you're left with t. Ms. Reyes, now why is it that this cancels out? Okay. It cancels out because of this. Look, let's look at it. We're going to look at the long version of it. This 2 is really 2 over 1. Okay. That's really what it is when you multiply by a fraction. So really what you get is here, when you multiply, you get 2t divided by 2. Well, look at this. 2 divided by 2 gives you 1t still. Bring down the equal sign. 4 divided by 2 gives you 8. So that's why that works. Okay? Because really this 2 is on the top and this is on the bottom. 2 divided by 2 gives you 1. So you got 1 times t is just t. It's just t. Okay? Number 5. Let's look at this. Let's look at 2 over 3. Let's do m is equal to 6. Let's use a small number. This time, let's use negative 6. All right. So now, in order to get m by itself here, look at this. You've got to do the reciprocal of this. Okay? All right. So when you see a problem that looks like this, multiply by the reciprocal. Miss Reyes, what is a reciprocal? What is the reciprocal of a number? Oh my God, y'all. Look at this. The reciprocal, I think that's spelled right. The reciprocal of a number, 2 over 3, is 3 over 2. You see how I just flipped it? The reciprocal of 1 over 7 is 7 over 1, or just 7. The reciprocal of 8 is 1 over 8. Why? Because this whole number, to write it as a fraction, you put a 1 under it. Okay? So these are reciprocal. When you flip the numerator and the denominator, that's the reciprocal. Okay? All right. Rewind if you still need to see that. Okay? All right, so we're going to multiply. When you see a problem that looks like this, you're going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal to get m by itself. So the reciprocal here is 3 over 2. The reciprocal here is 3 over 2. So here, when you multiply, look, multiply straight across. That gives you 6 over 6, y'all. Look at that. What's 6 over 6? 6 over 6 is just 1. So really, you just get 1 m. That's what you get. You just get 1 m or just the m. Here, when you multiply, multiply straight across. Make this into a fraction, multiply straight across. Negative 6 times a positive 3 is a negative 18. 1 times 2 gives me 2. So my answer here, when I reduce or simplify this, is going to be negative 9. Please pause if you need more time. Rewind if you need to see something again. Please do that. Okay? So now, number 6, what if you have something like this? You might have a problem that looks like this. 4x minus 10 is equal to 6. So how do we solve this? Okay, we solve this by getting x by itself. This is a two-step equation. The other ones were one step. This is a two-step. So how do we do this one? In order to get x by itself, we got to get rid of all the numbers that you add or subtract first. So get rid of this negative or minus 10. The opposite of a minus 10 is to add 10 to both sides. Get rid of this first. Don't get rid of what's directly attached to the x first. Get rid of numbers that you can add or subtract to remove. So get rid of this negative 10 or minus 10 by adding 10. So look at what happens. This is 0, and we're left with 4x. Bring down the equal sign. Then we have 6 plus 10 is 16. Now, how do you get x by itself? You're going to divide both sides by 4. Okay? Because this is multiplication. Remember, the opposite of multiplication is division. 4 divided by 4 is 1x, or just x, okay? 16 divided by 4 is just 4. So my answer here is 4. Okay? Number 7. Let's suppose that we have one that looks like this. 3x minus 7 is equal to 17. Okay? The first thing we don't do the same thing we did up here. The first thing we get rid of is this negative or minus 7. Not what's directly attached to it by multiplication or division, but anything you can add or subtract to remove. The opposite of subtraction is addition. So you add to move it, because the whole objective is to get x by itself so you can figure out what is x equal to, what is n equal to, what is p equal to. That's the unknown. When we add 7 on both sides, here we get 3x on this side because the 7s are gone. Here we get 24. Now to get x by itself, we got to get rid of this 3. 3 is being multiplied to x. The opposite of multiplication is division. So you're going to divide both sides by what? 3. So here, 3 divided by 3 gives you 1. So this gives me x. Bring down the equal sign. 24 divided by 3 gives me 8. Any questions about that? Okay, text me if you have questions. I'm forgetting that I'm recording a video, not in front of the class, right? Any questions? All right. So now we're going to do a different kind. This is 23 continued, okay? Oops. Sorry, y'all. 23 continued. Okay. Let's suppose that we have a problem that looks like this. Let me make sure I'm with the right number. We're on 8. So let's suppose that we have problems like this. We have 1/3 x plus 6 is equal to 12. Okay, so let's do this one. In order to get x by itself, we got to get rid of the 6 first, the plus 6. So we're going to subtract 6 on both sides. When we subtract 6 on both sides, this is gone, and we're left with 1/3 x. Bring down the equal. When we subtract 6 from 12, we're left with 6. Now, remember what I told you when you see a fraction here? Remember what I said? You have to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. And let me remind you again what reciprocal is. That's when you change the numerator. When you change, the numerator is going to become the denominator, and the denominator is going to become the numerator. So here, the top number is 1, so now it's going to be on the bottom. And the bottom number is 3, so now it's going to be on the top. So we multiply both sides by 3 over 1, which is the same as saying 3. Okay? When you multiply both sides by 3 over 1 or 3, because that's the same thing, here you're going to just be left with x. And 6 times 3 is just 18. You got to practice to get these, okay? So that's going to be 18. All right. Now you have one. Let's see, any other kind that. Let's do this one. We got 1/2 plus 2x is equal to 1. Let's do one like that, okay? So now you got to get rid of the positive 1/2. There's a positive. This is a positive. Okay, don't look at the sign behind it. Look what's in front of it. This is a positive. So you're going to subtract 1/2 from both sides. Okay. This is gone now. So now I'm left with 2x is equal to 1 minus 1/2 is just 1/2 left. It's just 1/2 left. So now, in order to get rid of the 2 that's being multiplied, you got to divide both sides by 2. This is a fraction, so we're going to put divided by 2, just like that. 2 divided by 2 gives me 1x. Bring down the equal. So now let's do this problem. Remember how to divide fractions? When you divide a fraction, you have to write this whole number as a fraction by putting a 1 under it. And remember what I told you before? When you divide, look, you have to multiply by the reciprocal when you divide, okay? So the reciprocal of the second number, 2 over 1 is 1 over 2. So you got to do this. You got to change division to multiplication. And you have to change, and I'm going to put the dot. I hate using X for a multiplication sign. It just looks weird. And then here, when I flip this, I get 1 over 2. So when I multiply straight across, on the top I get 1, but on the bottom I get 4. So my answer is equal to 1 over 4. Please rewind if you want to see that again, okay? Please rewind if you want to see that again. And I don't mind working that out again when I return, okay? Just let me know. All right, so now we're going to do one more problem so we can say we did 10. Okay? We got negative x plus 5 is equal to 10. Okay? In order to get x by itself, we got to get rid of this 5 first. This is a positive 5, so you're going to subtract 5 to move it. Okay, it's addition. The opposite of addition is subtraction. This is gone, and we're left with negative x is equal to 5. Look, we still got a negative in front of it. The number that's in front of it is 1. Remember, the operation that's between the two is multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So divide both sides by a negative 1. Negative 1 divided by a negative 1 is now going to give me that positive x that I need. So x is now by itself. And a positive divided by a negative is just going to change 5 to a negative. Okay, there you go. So now we finished taking notes in our interactive notebook. So let's look at let's look at our homework. And this is what we're doing in our homework. The same thing that I just did with you. Okay, the same thing I just did with you. All right. So let's look at this. In order to do this problem here, the first thing I have to do is subtract 2 on both sides. 6 minus 2 is going to give me 4. That leaves me with A divided by 4. Look, the opposite of division is multiplication. So the only way to get rid of this 4 is to multiply both sides by 4. I made this too big. 4 times 4 is 16. This is gone. And my answer is A is equal to 16. Or 16 is equal to A. Same thing. The same thing I did over here, you're going to do over here. Except for you're going to move this minus 6 by adding 6 to both sides. This is gone, and we're left with x over 4. Bring down my equal sign. Negative 5 plus 6, if you don't remember, use your fingers and your toes, is going to give you a positive 1. This is division. Remember, what is the opposite of division? Multiplication. So you're going to multiply both sides, just like I did over here. You're going to multiply both sides by 4. This is going to cancel out and leave me with x. This is going to give 4 times 1 is 4. Okay. All right, I'm going to do this one down here because it looks different. So now we're forced to get rid of this 6. We can't do anything till we get rid of that 6. This is division. I ask you, what is the opposite of division? Multiplication, Miss Reyes. So multiply both sides by 6. So multiply this by 6. Negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. This cancels out, and I'm just left with the equal sign and what's on the top here? 5 plus x. So now I'm going to get here, look, watch. Got to get x by itself. So I got to get rid of this positive 5 by subtracting 5 on both sides. Negative 6 minus 5 is going to give me a negative 11. So x is equal to a negative 11. You see the same thing I did here to get rid of the 6? I got to do the same thing. I multiply both sides by 3 to get rid of this. Okay? All right. I want you to try the other ones. Use the distributive property here. Multiply 2 times both numbers. This is 2 times n is 2n. 2 times 5 is 10. Bring down the equal sign. Look at that. So now what is this going to give me? I subtract 10 on both sides. And this is going to give me 2n, because this is gone, negative 12. Divide both sides by 2. And that gives me n is equal to a negative 6. I'm dividing because the operation between 2 and n is multiplication. Okay? Please pause if you need to, rewind if you need to. The last thing that I want you to work on is this sheet right here. And this is on the Canvas page, okay? This is going to be on the Canvas page. I showed you where this was already. This is the maze that I want you to do, okay? This is the maze that I want you to do. I want you to answer this maze on the Canvas page. You work the problem out, and whichever one is the answer, that's what you shade. So you shade this in, and you shade in whichever one needs the answers. Which, if this is the answer right here, then you work out this problem. Then if this is the answer here, you shade and work out this problem. If this is the answer down here, you shade and work out this problem. So on and so. I don't know if it's the answer or not. I'm just giving you an example. So you work the problem out and choose the answer, shade as you go along. It should be a dark line getting to where the end is, which is in this corner. Okay? Show your work. Take a picture of your work and submit it with the maze. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful, wonderful, and blessed day. Don't forget to complete your Tuesday's homework. Don't forget to submit this on Canvas. All right. Be well, be good, be blessed, and I'll see you later.